FEMA and its response to Ida. So I would now like to call on the gentlelady from Michigan. Ms. Tlaib, you are now recognized for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairwoman, and thank you, Administrator, for being here. I'm really impressed in the years of service that you've had within FEMA, and of course, as a firefighter for, I think, over 2 decades. Very impressive. Thank you, Chairwoman, for holding this really critically important hearing. I know when I talk to my residents, they're not talking to me about the broken immigration system when they're saying, can you get the sewage out of my basement? Or, you know, Rashida, literally, there's a river in front of my home. So I want us to really focus on the fact that we haven't invested, I think, the critical amount of money, the kind of bold, meaningful investment that we need to really address the fact that we have a climate crisis in our country. But Administrator, I do want to talk to you about something really serious, and I hope that under your leadership, there are changes can be made. As you noted in your testimony, flooding is the most common costly natural disasters in the United States. I've seen it. My folks have been flooded, I think, 4 times just in the last 2 months. And your team on the ground here have been leading with compassion, and I can't express to you how much that means to me, representing the 3rd poorest congressional district in the country. These are folks that did not have any savings, anything to really address. Again, they had no safety net to address the flooding in their homes and, of course, damage to their homes. But you know that every 5 years, FEMA is required to update their flood maps, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And it has to reflect, you know, whether properties are at risk of flood damage, and flood maps are critical tools, as you know, to where major decisions are made about investment, where folks need flood insurance, where critical infrastructure is built, who gets evacuated during a flood emergency, as you know. So last year, I know FEMA official testified during a hearing in the House Science Committee that FEMA's flood maps may give false impressions to some communities that they have little to no flood risk. We're already seeing that with, you know, FEMA officials on the ground can tell you and attest to that, Administrator. We know that new data released by an organization called First Street Foundation, which uses data to provide flooding risk levels for individual properties, shows that 8.7 million more properties are at risk from a 100-year flood than what current FEMA maps show. And there's been other kinds of reports afterwards, but this is serious, and I'm just anything I can do to be a partner in this. But does FEMA plan to update its data and the method that they use to include forward-looking climate projections and its flood maps, such as heavy rainfall and sea level levels?
Congresswoman, thank you for the question. And you represent my home state of where I grew up in Michigan, in Manistee, Michigan. So it has a very soft place in my heart. Flood maps are an incredible tool that we have, and again, designed primarily to support the inundation that we're seeing from coastal flooding or riverine flooding. They don't necessarily reflect the rain events that would cause some of the urban flooding that we see. But we work with the communities to help them update their community flood maps as they need to. And we would be happy to work with communities to help incorporate additional data that they may have to better portray the risk that they may be experiencing.
And I appreciate that, Administrator, but I think we need to go farther in providing the capacity needed. Many of them are not don't have the know-all in regards to that. I don't know if it's been a priority in pushing the state to maybe provide that capacity, but we are, at a point, I think, in our country that we need to start thinking about how do we do some of the, I think, preventive measures in place to making sure people have that safety net, that they are covered in regards to flood insurance, in regards to the infrastructure implementation. And I say this sincerely, my local communities were not prepared for this flooding, and I don't know how I can go back to them now and say, hey, I need you all to figure out, what are the tools, what are necessary in regards to figuring that out. If that makes any sense at all. Look, I'm a social worker at heart, and I'm a person that understands, some of them are local communities, some of my larger cities may have more capacity, but my smaller communities, the 11 that I have that were impacted directly by flooding, really don't have that capacity. And I really think FEMA, we need to step up, and we need to look at these foundations, these reports that are coming out, and say, let's put some of that data point in there in regard to sea levels, in regard to where we've been seeing flooding. And I think we have a really important responsible role in not saying, let the locals do it. And I know I hear that a lot, and it's something, again, I'm learning, but, Administrator, please, I'm asking you, let's change that culture and let's not, kind of wash our hands in regards to the flood mapping. I think we have a role here, and there's enough information out there that says we can do more.
Yeah, I think what you speak of really amplifies what I've been saying is this is the crisis of our generation. And we all have a shared responsibility to make sure that we are better understanding what the risks are that we're going to face in the future. I mean, so yes, we have a lot of work to do, and FEMA has a lot of work as well to support our communities in helping to understand what those risks are.
The gentlelady yields back. The gentlewoman from Florida, Ms. Wasserman Schultz.